Hello. For those of you who are here on the hour, I'm going to spend a few minutes in silence while it gives a chance for others to come on. I don't know, because I don't have a full screen, who are here, but please be patient. And in maybe 3 minutes, I will officially begin this program. I'm really excited. I've got lots of download of information that I want to share with you. And I hope that you will be open-minded, curious, and receptive to what it is that I will talk about today. So, and after the meeting is over, I will be able to stop the screen share and we can have time for a little conversation. So hang around, and someone, I guess I heard indication that someone else has joined us, which is wonderful. I will start the presentation in about 2 minutes. So gather a notepad and enjoy. Welcome. I will be starting the meeting officially in a couple of minutes. Please be patient. I have some wonderful, exciting information to share. All right. I am going to officially start this, and move my little window to Zoom. All right. You make you aware of how you can see your emotional pain. Why this challenge? Why focus on awareness and the rest of the components of the challenge. It's to do enough healing, learn enough ways to help you on your journey to become confident and feeling really motivated rather than bored and uninspired at work. That's incorrect. It should read uninspired. Now, yesterday I was looking over the notes for today's session and I was saying, okay, I got this. And then I took a shower. And while I was having a shower, intuition, spirit downloaded all the pieces that I could put in it. And I've added all those components that made me feel so excited because connected to intuition and spirit, I move into material that is what I need to feel excited. And that's what I'm going to be talking about too. And it's about coming to a place of engaging with others instead of withdrawing or tolerating unsatisfying relationships, a marriage, friendship, or being at work and not feeling all there. It's about learning how early in childhood you experience trauma that cause you to not totally trust or adopt a pattern of being a wallflower or an introvert. I know that because I withdrew so much that I responded with what people expected of me and what my culture expected of me, which is Japanese American, which meant be good, be a good daughter, be a good citizen, be a good student, be good. And it was not until I saw that that was what drove me, I became aware of what was this imperative driving me, that I could change. And instantly, what came forward was, I need to be aware, not good, but to be aware, because awareness gives you choice. Awareness allows you to see what you're tolerating and gives you permission to make another choice. Another way that you may be unaware about how much or how little money, how much worry you have in finances is becoming aware of the beliefs that hold you in this cage of limitations. I will spend some time introducing you to the structures of how you see money, the structures that create your perspective of how money is available to you, and so forth, so you can make another choice. And ultimately, it's about coming to a place of peace, calm, instead of frantic, whether it's experiencing that level of anxiety and frantically being overwhelmed or actively worrying or experiencing a lot of stress. Healing enough so you can feel more calm and more peace. And this being at calm and peace can grow the more you're aware of the wounds and the inner children that need healing. Have I been saying this? Awareness is the key. It is my main key. And hopefully, as we go through today and the rest of the time, I want you to learn more and more how powerful this is. Right now, I want to have you practice awareness. As you listen to me, as you went through the first 10 minutes of my talking, and as you go through the rest of the time we have together, jot down what you're aware of. Do you feel some resistance, some disbelief coming when I say something? So notice your resistance, be aware of it. Or whether you have a question, be aware that you have a question. Or if your attention wandered and you didn't hear me for a minute or for several seconds, jot down, be aware. So practice awareness for the next 45 minutes. And you can take a look at that and learn something from that. All right. Oops, I forgot to get the right. I noticed that I have the dream time. What do they call that? Insert anyway into this, and I should have gotten a clear image. That's all right. As I pointed out yesterday, this is not about perfection. Perfection, you may notice, is some pattern, some belief that you have. Because when you were injured, you might have concluded it was because I wasn't perfect, and I need to be perfect to get what I want in life. So, awareness is like this light that will shine and illuminate that which you can pay attention to if you choose to go with what you see. I will be shining the light on many areas to help you with this. I love this quotation. Awareness is like the sun. When it shines on things, they are transformed. And I like to believe that everything you become aware of, just by becoming aware of, something happens because the light shining on it begins to transform that. Now this is an introduction to this story that I may have incorrectly remembered, but this is a man who is looking under a street lamp to find a wallet that he lost. So a stranger comes up to him and says, what are you looking for? And he said, my wallet. I lost it. And the man said, you lost it here? And this man said, no, I lost it in my house or somewhere else. And the stranger says to him, why are you looking at it here? Because there is light. So this is an analogy or a metaphor that I bring up to talk about how the habit that we have of not wanting to look where it's dark and we want light, what is comfortable. So our present circumstances is lighted enough and we go our way doing our routines, fulfilling our responsibilities, going to our appointments, eating on schedule or not, etc., etc. The habits that define the choices of every day. I am going to help you shine a light on the darkness where you haven't seen. Because once you become aware of what you are not seeing, you will have a choice. And with awareness, it will begin to transform. It's a way of not seeing with magnifying glasses, but seeing through the choices that awareness brings. So this is an illustration about building your awareness muscle. One major way of building that awareness muscle is self-reflection. If you did the assignment for day 1 that I presented in the workbook to you yesterday, and if you haven't received 2 copies of the workbook, please contact me and let me know. So the workbook asks you to look at least 8 areas of your life, to spend time with yourself and describe the challenges that you have. Hopefully it wasn't in all areas. In some areas you feel pretty good, so there were no challenges to describe. But you wouldn't be here if 1, 2, or more areas had challenges. And this time of self-reflection, of journaling, gave you the opportunity of 1, spending time with yourself. How often do you do that? So you spent time as much as you did to reflect on how you're doing in every area pointed out to you. This is to help you bring to mind how important what it is that I'm teaching is, because I am going to present the keys. Just as awareness is a powerful key, the other keys that I have that help me move along the path of becoming more, of becoming truly myself, and coming to the point that I have embarked, however this journey takes me, to spread what I know in the world. This challenge is one way. And just as a side note, I have an Apple app that collected the last challenge with all the videos, and I'm going to replace each one of those components with the components that are being created, will be created this week. And yesterday, I sent the first component to all of you. So take a look at that to catch up. But importantly, let's focus on building the muscle, self-reflection. Spending time with yourself helps you use your awareness muscle by asking you to be aware right through this presentation of all the things that happen for you at another level outside from listening, helps you build this awareness muscle. In other words, like exercise, the more you use your muscles, the stronger it gets. I've been practicing my awareness muscle for quite some time. My first spiritual teacher, my goodness, her name is Johnson. I can't remember her first name. Anyway, of the Open Door community, taught me on my very first meeting with her about an exercise of meditation. 20 minutes sitting, eyes closed, back straight, and just closing your eyes and paying attention, noticing. That's what awareness is, noticing. No matter what comes up, just notice. You might notice a really crazy monkey mind, which many meditators experience at the beginning. I know I did. When about 20 some odd, when I was in my 20s, I went to an Indian guru who initiated me in the practice that he had. And I just ran out of sitting because my monkey mind was so noisy, I couldn't stand it. So you're to tolerate if that happens for 20 minutes. And as you sit every day, things begin to change. And I sit now in my half an hour of meditation, and some very good things happen there, which I'll talk about later. But awareness muscles you need to exercise. Now, I want to present you with a different way of looking at things, different systems that present a way of looking at what could be happening to you so that you're now aware of this, and being aware, you probably won't forget it. There are Eastern ways of looking at the illnesses of the heart, the liver, kidney, spleen, lungs, pancreas, and so forth. I just pulled this image of it to introduce you to how Chinese medicine looks at the symptoms of your body. Now, my client yesterday was told that one thing she had was a fatty liver. And she said, when I heard that, I thought, how could it be? I have been scrupulous in how I have treated my diet, the food I eat, and I have fatty liver. I pointed out to her that in the work we've done in focusing on her aching liver, we found an incredible amount of anger, resentment, anger for all the trauma she experienced when she was 2 or 3, and how her parents did not see she was being sexually abused in her own home. All the anger for not getting the attention she needed. So in that way, she experienced what we all experienced, being hurt by our mother, particularly not really knowing and seeing, understanding, and being there for us when we needed as a young baby or a toddler. So we, depending on how we deal with anger, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, all the ways they can come up, or all the ways we might have denied or suppressed, our liver has limited energy. And one way that things can change with the liver is compassion. I think yesterday, I talked about compassion in the way of ho'oponopono. That's one way of instantly being with what hurts that creates anger. Okay, what about the kidney? The kidney is the organ of fear. And I noticed that whoever created this spelled loneliness wrong. This is an aspect of inner child experience that we sometimes just get the top of. We experience fear sometimes when we go to a party where there'll be new people, or beginning a new assignment at work, or a new set of coworkers, or going to a family gathering where the last time it was pretty miserable. So trauma parts are carriers of fear and loneliness. And the antidote to this is wisdom. For me, the wisdom that after healing the trauma parts, you gradually clear the wall, protective wall around your heart, so you can access the innocence, you who are spirit who came as love. Lungs. My sister, one of twins, 2 years younger than they were for me, that I may have mentioned, passed and she suffered from pulmonary fibrosis, which is, quote, inherited, because in my mother's generation, she, another sister, and three brothers also had pulmonary fibrosis. From the medical point of view, the physical point of view, they had inherited this. And in talking with my niece about her mother, she said, wow, how much grief she must have held and didn't process. And I began to point out the sources of grief that she never processed. So we could well confirm on a emotional level, at least, why her lungs were vulnerable, unprocessed grief. And how integrity comes in, I'll have to look more into this. So we can look into the spleen. Spleen about worry and overthinking, which is how worrying shows fear and how overthinking, is another aspect of ego, which I will talk about shortly. Finally, just a bit about the heart. As I told the group yesterday, my nephew had a heart attack on Saturday. He is not conscious, and he required 2 pumps to sustain his body. Now, I had a heart attack about 2 years ago, and it made me wonder, I think, okay, what is happening there? Were there anxieties that I wasn't aware of? Overjoy? I don't understand that. But the point is, having found this, I'm now aware of how I can look further into the pain, the symptoms of my body, to move to the emotional level where I can work, because I can work with what is inside me, my internal world. The external world, there's only so much I can do. As you see, when you see the tragedies of the Gaza, the Hamas, and all of that madness, what can you do to change and fix that? Well, the one answer I have for you is pray, which we'll talk about more. Now, the ego, which I define as the small self. How the ego, the small self, uses thinking, judging, comparing, separating, and fears. Do you know, as I mentioned yesterday, that we are a world and a society especially of thinkers, and we prize those whose genius have created, like Steve Jobs, I mentioned yesterday. His thinking, all the computer scientists, all the technology people, the people who created AI, artificial intelligence, we are impressed with what science can produce. And as we get in this world of the thinking, admiring all that, we set up in our own system the over-reliance of thinking. And obviously, the outside world validates. We're in the whole bubble of thinking being the God, for example. And what I learned through the process of this inner child work about exploring my insides, thinking isn't it. Thinking is a tool. But thinking is a tool that ego uses to get us into trouble. I was speaking yesterday and even in contact with one of my clients today about the thoughts that she had, thoughts of how she did this isn't the right thing to do, and doing this, and it was wrong, judging right and wrong. So thinking brings up thoughts of darkness, of wrongdoing that makes her feel incapable and afraid. Because thinking brings in judgment. You judge things right, wrong, good, bad, better, worse, and so forth. And when you do this, you move into the world of duality. Everything has its opposite. And when you pay attention to the one, the other there, the opposite is in your field. So in mindset, in affirmations that you may have devoted time to, anytime you focus on the better, the opposite shows up. I am powerful. The opposite shows up. I am weak. I am incapable. So in participating with the ego in judging and everything that prolongs judging, is weakening you. You may have been judging all through this, judging yourself, judging me, judging the slides, all of this. You participate in duality. And being in that space, you compare. Compare is a separate activity. My client compares herself to all the normal people around her who can do what they want to do, who don't have this that she has, and how she doesn't have this that they have. Comparing. The ego uses that to bring her down, feeling depressed, afraid, anxious. So you may notice that whenever you compare, you put yourself into the realm of putting yourself down and make yourself separate from the oneness, which is the reality that we'll talk about later on in this program. What thinking does is bring up the past and the future to bring the past into the future to worry about, and in bringing up the past, all the things that made you afraid, that made you think you're not capable, etc., etc. So the ego uses thinking, judging, comparing, separating, fears, duality to bring you down, to keep you apart from a bigger bubble place of non-duality, of oneness. And that will be elaborated on later. I am going to introduce you to another concept. And in looking for our quote, I ran into this: we have met the enemy and he is us. I love it because it brings up Jung. You're going to notice that I frequently refer to Jung, and I have to tell you this. After I read this, everyone carries a shadow. Yeah, you carry a shadow. And the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. What this means is that the shadow is in your unconscious. And as long as it's there, the blacker, everything that is distressful, not clear, and a problem to you is the thick material of the shadow reflected in your life. The shadow projects that. And how do we know about what a shadow is? Now, the little story. When I was in graduate school, I was introduced to the idea of the shadow. I had no idea about what it was. I could not grasp it, even in reading. And it's funny because Jung was a favorite of mine, but he has so much wisdom. I only grasp what the shadow in the recent years. So you know the shadow when you react with horror, distaste. You get really angry for someone being the way they are, and it reflects a part of you that you don't realize is in your unconscious. So, an example is if you see someone, as my client does, who is enjoying life, presumably, who, or I, for a long time, quietly resented arrogant people, people who were showing off, who were being egotistical. In various ways, even recently, it comes up. I'm taking care of some of the shadows, so it's not as big. Trump is represent for so many an expression of their shadow, his ignorance, his lack of consciousness, his being lost in his own reality that many of us don't share. All of this, he has created his world, expressing, embodying what he has in his unconscious. And from my point of view, what he has in his conscious life is pretty dark and black and dense. So this is an example of how you can tell that there's a part in your unconscious unclaimed. I think there's also a shadow and a positive shadow. The positive shadow are the unclaimed parts of you that are full of light, full of love, full of joy. And this is how you might tell there is a good reason to do shadow work, because it points to areas where you can, once aware, begin to do some healing. This is a quotation about how perception is projection, kind of a corollary or another idea of the shadow. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. What we see, what you see, what I see right now is an example of how we are in our internal world. And if what we see is distress, pain, lack of fulfillment, dissatisfaction, and so forth, it's saying, reflecting how we are, and shows us where we can, if you have the courage and the willingness and the curiosity to check out what reality we created, what glasses we put on, so we see what we see, because the world that you see, and happily you have brought me into that world, because it reflects a part of you that is open to healing. Okay, so that is perception is projection. All right, another system of looking of how we can work toward healing. This is a quick image of an energetic way of looking at who we are. We're our body, But from energy healing's point of view, we have, from the Eastern point of view, we have these 7 chakras, energy centers. The first one, the root chakra, is about survival. The second, which is located in our abdomen, it says deals with pleasure. I see it as the creative center. It is close to a woman's womb. It's a receptive center in some ways. The third chakra, our power chakra, I interpret it as where, when it's open, you're connected to your power. When it's open, you see your place in the world and can claim that. The fourth chakra, the heart chakra, deals with love. The fifth chakra is how, when open, you can speak your truth. You can create boundaries. I dealt with a client yesterday who was speaking her truth, and the opposition to that were her husband, who didn't want to hear her truth, and he mounted a huge assault. And while she was there continuing to persist with her truth, she was shaking. The fear that that came with his energy, she needed to have treated, so we worked together. So all the trauma parts who were used to suppressing her voice and her ability to tell the truth could be treated and released. The sixth chakra is that place between your eyebrows, the third eye. It is when it's open that psychic can see all kinds of things. And perhaps it's a place where intuition can be seen to dwell because it brings you insight. And the seventh chakra is your connection to the cosmos, the everything, the all, the oneness, the divine that is. So as you can see, this also informs us how ego can block the working of these chakra by fear, in terms of the first, by guilt, by shame, by grief, by lies, by illusions. And treating this is something I do when I work with individuals, because 20 years ago, I graduated from the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, which was all about testing whether the chakras were open or not, and bringing in the energy so they were all open. So after the end of a session, we could check with the pendulum to see that all the chakras are open. But they're only open for so long because you meet the world, the reality that you've created. And unless you've done things to deal with what is painful and distressful and the darkness there, your chakras respond to defend and close. And that's why not only is through Reiki and through energy healing, this information is helpful. It's also important from my point of view that you become aware of the other ways that you can work, especially with the subconscious, which we're going to learn about on Thursday. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how your emotions, when dealt with optimally, becomes very powerful for you. So I realized that I've been going And I need to take a pause, giving you time to pause. What are you aware of right now? Are you excited? Are you confused? Are you curious? Or are you just being able to rest? Noticing your breathing, becoming conscious in the moment. So we move on. I don't know what's coming up next. I want to introduce you really quickly to Brian W. Ridgway. He was my most recent teacher who taught me about the breath and the importance of the breath. And he taught me a way of looking in his system that you are infinite creator, you are divine, you have infinite power. And his perspective and how he teaches helps you remove the spells that keep you from claiming your infinite power and being creator. And as creator, everything in your life is a gift you gave to yourself. So to give you a point of view that everything you see is a gift and you need to discover what that gift is rather than to be thrown into despair about all that you see. So if you email me, I will give you the links to his training and information on breath. Next, part of A is acceptance. Acceptance, as Maya Angelou says, is the first step towards peace. Peace versus the distress that you feel. How important is acceptance? Well, when you become aware, you can either make choices. You can make choices to look away, or you can make choices to accept that that is what is for you right now. When you resist acceptance, you stay in resistance, caught in a struggle that can only be resolved if you accept this is what is. I'm in pain. I can find all kinds of solution, research, think, find all the medications, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, and so forth. And all of this is perpetuating your distress. And the key spiritually to moving forward is to accept, surrender to what is. Einstein, okay, here is something very interesting. Einstein is seen as a fantastic scientist, a genius thinker, but he had a side of him that isn't known that much, and that is he has many sayings and many writings about using the imagination, intuition, to really get to the answers that ended up in E=mc². They were not the result of a thinking scientific mind, but the spiritual side of him that could use his intuition and imagination and provide this genius way of looking at the world, quantum reality, where nothing is as it seems to be, because things shift. Every bit of everything before you actually shifts between wave and particle, is not solid. The solid world is an illusion. Anyway, that's where I go when I think about this. Once we accept our limits, we can go beyond them. Acceptance is the prize. The last portion of this is awaken. Remember, Jung said, he who looks inside awakens. So by being involved in this journey with me, as you hear this and as you listen to every day, I am giving you the keys to help you become aware, to accept, and to awaken. And awakening will be explained more in the rest of the ACE system that I provided. Here is one of my first teachers. We have a dysfunctional dream of the planet, and humans are mentally sick with a disease called fear. The symptoms of the disease are all the emotions that make humans suffer: anger, hate, sadness, envy, and betrayal. So, my first teacher told me this, and it's only recently that I've really paid attention. And my system really focused on the suffering created by the emotions of anger, hate, sadness, envy, and betrayal. And I present my method of re-educating your emotional system, fine-tuning your emotional intelligence, introducing and informing you how the inner child plays such a huge, or can play such a huge place in finding a way to relieve yourself of the disease called fear. Do you feel, are you aware of any sense of any pressure? This is your body speaking to you. I want you to practice being in imagination, and just for 30 seconds, close your eyes and see yourself in the place of imagination. This place is limitless. It's where all possibilities exist. And in this place, you will feel how playful you can be, because this is where a child with his or her innocence can play, create imaginary friends, where creatives come to connect with their muse. Think of the possibilities here. So, that was your short time in imagination. Now, write down a commitment that you're going to make for yourself. Just quickly right now, you can return to it and make more commitments that you have realized is possible through what I've spoken about. A commitment to self-reflect, a commitment to play imagination, whatever it is, make a commitment, write it down. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Jot down keywords. So this is the A part of the ACE method. Tomorrow we move to change, choose, connect. It gets more exciting as I introduce you to more material. That's tomorrow. Change how you deal with your emotions. Choose to receive their messages and their guidance. Connect with your inner child. Attention. Tomorrow's assignment, as you will find or have found, is on emotions, how you experience them, and the source of your reaction, and the suggestion to embrace them. I put together this big picture of why we're doing this. Rumi, who is a constant teacher with the quotes I find from him, he is truly awakened. He says, the wound is the place the light enters you. We all are wanting to go home to the light. And the wound, what we do here, what we talk about here, is the place that the light enters you. So that concludes our presentation for today.